Shields up, Iron Breakers. Rurikhan here coming at you with another video. Welcome back to Elden Ring. And today I wanted to talk a little bit about how invasions work in this game and why I'm a little bit disappointed by the way they decided to implement this particular functionality when compared to previous Souls titles. And I realize that a lot of people are going to say, wow, Rurikhan, just now you're talking about this? And yeah, I understand that the first two playthroughs that I did through the game were completely offline. This was a personal choice. And some of you might even think that I did these playthroughs in offline because I didn't want it to get invaded or something like that. And that was not the point at all. The main reason why I did my first two playthroughs completely offline was because I didn't want it to have any messages in the world. I didn't want it to see any blood pools in the world. I wanted to see the world as you're supposed to experience it without having any clues, any tips, or any guidance of any kind. That was just my personal preference as to how I wanted to experience the game. It had nothing to do with invasions. As a matter of fact, I would have liked to have gotten invaded while I was playing the game because that is an aspect of the game that I do appreciate, but you know, when I have to balance out, okay, so what do I care more about, getting invaded or having a, an experience that is completely unguided, no messages in the ground, no blood pools in the ground, nothing like that. And I value more the second one. So, it is what it is. I've never taken PvP too seriously in these games, but it is something that I like to engage in from time to time. So I did two full playthroughs of the game, the one that I recorded, then the second one that I did where I went through and did all of the quest lines, and it was mostly a non-recorded playthrough that I could just enjoy at a more slower pace, at a more deliberate pace, and just really soak myself into the world, because at the end of the day, for as much of a content creator as I am for these types of games, there's also a significant part of me that is not just in it for the content creation. I also just like playing these games, and not you should sometimes save some time for yourself as a content creator to just appreciate games so that you don't feel like you have to record every little bit of it. But anyway, that's the reason why I'm coming to the table with this discussion as late as I am, because I just played through the whole game twice before I actually engaged in any meaningful multiplayer. Before this, I did a little bit of co-op with a friend on PlayStation 5 or something like that, just very early areas of the game, just for us to try some stuff out and play around with it. But I didn't really engage too much in Invasions. So yesterday when I was streaming, some of you guys might have seen the stream where I was going through New Game Plus, and it's a pretty busted build that I'm using, just destroying everything in my path, right? And one of the things that I wanted to do is like, okay, I want this playthrough to be the one where I'm going to be engaging with multiplayer, and I want people to be able to invade me and stuff like that. And that is when I really realized just how limited it was, because I was aware of the fact that, there had been discussions before, and I had seen videos before where, okay, you can only really get invaded if you go into co-op and stuff like that. But I didn't realize how deeply they limited that functionality. Because I understand that a lot of you guys in my audience, at least from me reading the comments, the idea that I get is that a lot of you guys don't actually care that much for PvP. I completely understand that. That is your decision. That is your prerogative, whatever. But personally, when it comes to Souls games, one of the parts that is very appealing to me is the fact that people can invade you at any given moment. If you are, for instance, if you think of Dark Souls 1, if you reverse hollowing in order to like kindle a bonfire or something, during the duration throughout which you are human, people can essentially invade you at any point in time. And that gives you a sense of adrenaline that you really just don't get in a lot of other video games. And that is something that I personally really appreciated. I like the fact that players could just invade me out of nowhere. And I also like the kind of limitations that they implement in terms of, okay, let's say you were invaded. It's going to take I don't remember the exact timers, stuff like that, but it would take about 5 minutes before you could get invaded again, unless you use the dried finger. Again, these are not systems that that I would dedicate too much time to. I just like the fact that they were there, and a lot of the times I would purposely reverse hollowing just so that I could feel the rush of adrenaline that the threat of being invaded is there. That is something that I appreciated. So yesterday, in the New Game Plus playthrough, I'm like, okay, I want to play it like that. I want to experience that thrill of potentially being invaded. So I used the fur-calling finger remedy, which I figured, okay, this is kind of like reverse hollowing in previous Souls games. So I'm going to assume that because this is the thing that triggers co-op and multiplayer, I'm going to assume I pop this thing, and then I can get invaded. That was not the case, as people in chat made me realize, and I was just like, wait, what? You have to use the Taunter's Tongue? Okay. So I go and I pop the Taunter's Tongue. and you get invaded instantly. And I was just like, well, this isn't really an invasion because I allowed it. Like, how is this an... I guess if I was to do a full playthrough in co-op, that'd be different, because if you do have other players, then yes, you will be invaded and stuff like that. But I wanted to be invaded as a solo player, and I didn't want it to manually trigger the invasion, because that kind of takes this... It kind of takes the invasion element out of it. Doesn't it? Doesn't that just take the invasion? It's not really an invasion. It's almost like me putting a red sign down. Using the Taunter's Tongue, it's like me putting a red sign down and somebody clicking the red sign and coming into my world to kill me. And there was just this disconnect in me in which I was like, this kind of sucks. Because it's predictable. Because you have to use the Taunter's Tongue to get invaded. And very rarely would I not get invaded within seconds of using the Taunter's Tongue. So I'm like, well, there's no surprise invasions, really. You just completely removed the surprise element from invasions. And again, this might have been a discussion that might have already been happening for a while now. I'm assuming it did. But this was the first time that I was actually exposed to it. And I was like, wow, this actually sucks. Because maybe this is just a very niche thing and not a lot of people care about that. I'm actually super curious to hear from you guys how you feel about the whole invasion situation. Because, you know, I get it. If you're doing co-op, you're going to get invaded left, right, and center and whatnot. And you can even use the different things to do to engage in the PvP. But I just wanted to have... Like, one of the things that I really liked is just how organic it was. You reversed hollowing, and now there's a chance that you can get invaded. And you can't really predict when it will happen. It might happen instantly after you get out of the bonfire. It might happen 5 minutes from now. It might happen 30 minutes from now. Might even not happen at all. The uncertainty is where I felt the magic was for the invasions and, you know, a lot of the PvP aspects of the game. Naturally, there's also duels and fight clubs where if you actually want to do something a little bit more, you know, traditional type of PvP where you're actually engaging in a more duel-like scenario, there's a lot of solutions for that. And there's the, I mean, I guess you could kind of consider them covenants, like some of the things that you can use, like the blue cipher ring, the white cipher ring, all of that stuff, right? But at the end of the day, what happens to just good old-fashioned invasions on a solo player? That's just not a thing. And you guys might say, well, you use the Taunter's Tongue and then you get invaded and you do PvP. That's not what I want. That kind of like goes against the whole purpose of the invasion bit. Like, I want to be in the middle of an adventure and a player just invade me randomly, and you can't have that experience in Elden Ring. And I guess, again, it's mostly because I didn't engage too much with PvP elements, but my mind was blown that is how they did it, because I kind of feel like that's never been the way that these things have gone. And I've always found, you know, the multiplayer elements of it interesting. It's just the thing was I didn't want it to have to deal with messages and bloodstains on the ground. And I'm happy I didn't do it, by the way, because looking at the way that my map looked like yesterday when I went through for the first time, actually seeing messages and blood pools, Jesus Christ, talk about sensory overload. Whenever you're going around everywhere, there's like 50 messages. You can barely see the ground in a lot of locations. I almost wish that they'd let you do multiplayer and turn the messages and blood pool guidance off. I think that could be a nice little bit of customization. It's just me thinking out loud here. But yeah, again, I was just surprised and I wanted to talk about it. And I'm very curious to hear from you guys as to how you feel about this. I would love to have the old invasions back when, you know, I'm just running around through the world and random player invades me and we have a little bit of a fight. And it's, you know, I think that is interesting. But I guess that so many people complained about the PvP that they were actually able to negatively influence the invasion situation for people that actually enjoy this more niche play style of eventually getting invaded by another player and the kind of battle of attrition that can generate from that. And I understand for a lot of people are going to say, oh, but there's cheaters and there's overpowered things in the game. Yeah, whatever. Are you really going to take PvP that seriously in Elden Ring that you're going to be all about, oh man, this thing is completely broken. I can't believe that they use this weapon on me. You die and then you go and you get your souls, or you die and you lose your souls. It's not the end of the world. It's a little bit frustrating, sure, but I think that the benefits by far outweigh the disadvantages of that stuff. Yeah, I guess I'm just curious to hear what you guys have to say. So let me know in the comment section down below, and maybe I'll do a follow-up to this topic if I deem it worthy. But for now, that's going to be it. Thank you all very much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button. If you did not enjoy it, the dislike button. But yeah, I really do miss the old school Invasions. Kind of feel like we lost something, you know? But anyways, y'all stay strong out there. Peace out.